Welcome to Audio Romance AR. Today, we bring you a thrilling and heart-fluttering school romance story. From a poor scholarship girl who was bullied, dragged by her hair, and pushed down in the school hallway, to becoming the girl protected by the richest bad boy heir in school. Story title: I got bullied and pushed down, but the school's bad boy caught me? From nerd to the heir's secret love. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. I was running up the stairs to the classroom building, breathing heavily. The jeepney I took got stuck in terrible traffic, making me late for school. Today, we had a history quiz in the first period, and as a full scholarship student from the province, I couldn't afford to be late. I kept my head down, clutching my history book tightly to my chest. My long hair was tied up neatly. My thick glasses kept sliding down my nose from sweat, and my old uniform felt too plain. All I wanted was to slip quietly into the classroom. But fate had other plans. Look at this nerd. Fiona Rise's sharp voice echoed through the hallway, followed by loud laughter from her group. Before I could react, a designer shoe suddenly shot out and blocked my path. My foot caught on it. The world spun. I fell forward hard, my palms scraping against the cold concrete floor. My book flew out of my hands, my glasses clattered away, and my neatly tied hair came undone from the force. The laughter grew louder, echoing everywhere. Poor thing! She's going to cry again, Fiona sneered, her voice full of contempt. How dare a provincial gold digger like you even step foot in this school? Look at that face and those braces. So ugly. I bit my lip hard, trying not to let the tears fall. My hands trembled as I reached for my glasses and put them back on. It hurt. Not just my scraped knees and palms, but my heart hurt the most. I had endured this for 3 months. I endured it for my scholarship, for my family back home who were counting on me, because all I had was my brain. But today, I couldn't take it anymore. I slowly stood up, wiped the blood from my palms onto my old skirt, and lifted my head to look Fiona straight in the eyes. Fiona, I've never done anything to you. Why do you keep doing this to me? My voice was shaking, but firm. Fiona smirked and stepped closer. Then, without warning, she grabbed a fistful of my hair and yanked it back harshly. Don't you dare turn your back on me when I'm talking to you, you country bumpkin! The sharp pain made me grit my teeth. A burning rage exploded in my chest. I didn't think anymore. I shoved her with all my strength. Fiona stumbled backward, caught off guard, and finally let go of my hair. Stop touching me! I snapped, my eyes blazing. I may be poor and here on scholarship, but I'm not your toy to bully whenever you feel like it. Her group fell silent. Fiona's face turned red with fury. You dared to push me? She raised her hand to slap me. But before her palm could reach my face, a strong, firm hand suddenly grabbed her wrist from behind. Enough. The voice was low, cold, and carried absolute authority. I looked up, and my heart stopped. Ralph Lawrence Monteverde, the only son of the school's owner, the guy everyone feared and secretly admired, was standing there. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a dangerously handsome face. His deep eyes were staring directly at me. Fiona immediately changed her tone, turning sweet. Ralph, baby, I was just joking. Ralph ignored her. He released her wrist and walked toward me. I froze, unable to breathe. He bent down, picked up my history book, brushed the dust off it, and handed it to me. The moment his fingers brushed against mine, a jolt of electricity shot through my entire body. Be careful next time, miss, he said quietly, but loud enough for the whole hallway to hear. I couldn't speak. I just stared at him through my thick glasses, my face burning hot, my heart hammering wildly. Ralph looked at me for one more second, then turned and walked away without another word. I remained rooted to the spot, legs like lead. Fiona shot me a deadly glare before storming off with her friends. And me. I placed a hand over my chest, feeling my heart still racing out of control. Ralph Lawrence Monteverde had just touched my hand. From that moment I knew. My quiet, nerdy life was officially over. I was still standing frozen in the hallway, gripping my history book so tightly my knuckles turned white. My heart wouldn't calm down. Not because of the pain in my knees or the sting on my scalp, but because of the moment Ralph Lawrence Monteverde had bent down to pick up my book and his fingers had brushed mine. Just 1 second. But it was enough to shake my entire world. Casey! Oh my God! What happened to you? Sheila's voice rang out as she rushed toward me. She grabbed my shoulders, her eyes scanning the scrapes on my hands and knees. Fiona bullied you again, didn't she? That witch! This time she went too far! Sheila growled angrily. I tried to smile, but it came out shaky and crooked. I'm okay, Sheila. I just bumped into someone. I didn't dare tell her the truth. I couldn't say that Ralph had appeared, touched me, and looked at me with those deep eyes that made me forget how to breathe. Sheila frowned, clearly not convinced. Bumped into someone? Then why is your face so red? Don't hide it from me, Casey Rivera. I know you too well. Before I could reply, the bell rang loudly. Come on, let's get to class. History quiz is starting. Sheila pulled my arm, sounding worried. I nodded and tried to pull myself together. We entered the classroom just as the professor walked in. I kept my head down and headed to my usual seat in the back corner where no one noticed me. But today, everything felt different. As I sat down, I accidentally glanced to my right, the seat next to me that was always empty, and I nearly dropped my pen. Ralph Lawrence Monteverde was sitting there. He sat straight, one hand resting under his chin, looking as cool and indifferent as ever. But when his eyes met mine, he slightly raised an eyebrow, and the corner of his lips curved into a tiny, almost unnoticeable smile. My heart skipped a beat. New student? The professor smiled at Ralph. Ralph Lawrence Monteverde, son of the school owner. He's been transferred here because the other section was overcrowded. Everyone, please welcome him. The class erupted in whispers. The girls were giggling and staring at him with sparkling eyes. Fiona, sitting a few rows ahead, smiled brightly, her gaze full of possession as she looked at Ralph. And me. I could only lower my head and pretend to take notes, even though my hands were shaking. All right, let's start the quiz. Everyone take a sheet of paper. I quickly grabbed a paper and tried to focus, but my mind was only filled with Ralph sitting less than a meter away from me. I could smell his subtle masculine cologne and hear his steady breathing. The quiz began. I finished quite fast since history was my strongest subject, but Ralph was struggling. I glanced over and saw him frowning, tapping his pencil on the desk, clearly stuck on some questions. Just as I finished the last item, Ralph suddenly leaned slightly toward me and whispered so quietly only I could hear, "How did you solve question number 7? I jumped, looking up at him. His face was so close I could see his long eyelashes clearly. My face burned. I connected it to the events of 1896, I whispered back, my voice tiny. Ralph nodded lightly and gave me a real smile, not his usual cold smirk. Thank you. Just 2 words. But my heart felt like it was being squeezed and then released. Fiona, sitting not far away, kept shooting deadly glances at us. I could feel the hatred radiating from her. Class ended. I packed my things quickly, planning to slip out before Fiona could cause more trouble. But Sheila was already waiting at the door. Bess, want to grab lunch? I'm starving! I nodded, forcing a smile. We had just stepped into the hallway when a deep voice called from behind, "Wait." I turned around. Ralph was standing there, hands in his pockets, looking calm but staring straight at me. Fiona immediately appeared beside him, wrapping her arm around his like it was natural. Ralph, baby, let's have lunch together? I already reserved a table at a nice restaurant. Ralph gently removed her arm, not roughly but not softly either. He looked at me, his voice even. You're Casey, right? Today, thank you for helping me with the quiz. I froze. In front of the entire hallway of students, in front of Fiona, whose face was turning red with rage, Ralph publicly thanked me, a scholarship nerd everyone looked down on. It was nothing, I stammered, my face flushing. Ralph nodded slightly, then turned to Sheila. You're her friend too? Would you two like to join me for lunch? My treat. Sheila's eyes widened. I nearly stopped breathing. Fiona couldn't hold it in anymore. Her voice turned shrill. Ralph? Why are you inviting that girl? She's just a provincial scholarship student. She doesn't deserve to sit at the same table as you. The air suddenly became tense. Ralph turned sharply to Fiona, his eyes ice cold. Fiona, I don't remember giving you the right to decide who deserves what. He looked at me again, his voice softer. If you don't want to, it's fine. But I really want to thank you. I bit my lip, my heart in chaos. Part of me wanted to run away. The other part wanted to stay near him a little longer. I took a deep breath, my voice shaky but clear. Okay, I'll go. Fiona glared at me like she wanted to tear me apart. And Ralph? The corner of his lips lifted slightly. That small smile made my heart flutter even harder. I knew it then. From this moment on, nothing would ever be the same again. Lunchtime felt like walking into a battlefield. Sheila and I followed Ralph to the school cafeteria. Every pair of eyes in the hallway turned toward us. Whispers spread like wildfire. Is that the nerd girl walking with Ralph Monteverde? No way. Fiona is going to kill her. My hands were sweating. I kept my head slightly down, wishing I could disappear. Ralph walked beside me with his usual cool confidence, hands in his pockets, as if he didn't notice the attention at all. When we reached the cafeteria, Ralph chose a table in the corner. He pulled out a chair for me first, something no one had ever done before. My face burned as I sat down. "What do you want to eat?" he asked, looking at me directly. Anything is fine," I mumbled. Sheila grinned beside me. "I'll have the special meal. Casey usually takes the cheapest option." Ralph nodded and went to order. The moment he walked away, Sheila leaned in and whispered excitedly, "Bess, what is happening? Ralph Monteverde just invited us to lunch, and he pulled out your chair." "I don't know." My voice was barely a whisper. "I'm scared, Sheila. Fiona looked like she wanted to murder me." Before Sheila could reply, Ralph returned with trays of food. He placed the best-looking meal in front of me: grilled chicken, fresh vegetables, and rice, far more expensive than what I usually ate. "Thank you," I said softly, not daring to meet his eyes. We ate in silence for a few minutes. Then Ralph spoke. "You're really smart in history. How do you remember all those dates and events?" I blinked, surprised he was talking to me. "I just read a lot. Books are my only escape." Ralph studied me for a moment. "Escape from what?" "From people like Fiona," I answered honestly before I could stop myself. His jaw tightened. "She won't bother you again." I wanted to believe him, but I knew Fiona too well. She never gave up easily. As we finished eating, Fiona appeared at our table with two of her friends. Her smile was sweet, but her eyes were venomous. "Ralph, why are you wasting time with these two? Especially her." She pointed at me. "She's just a scholarship student from the province. She doesn't belong here." The entire cafeteria went quiet. Ralph leaned back in his chair, his expression turning cold. "Fiona, I decide who I spend time with, not you." Fiona's face twisted with anger. "You're really choosing this nerd over me? She probably used some provincial witchcraft to make you notice her." Gasps filled the room. I felt my chest tighten. The old shame came rushing back, the feeling that I didn't deserve to be here. Ralph stood up slowly. His tall frame made Fiona step back instinctively. "Say one more word about her," he said dangerously low, "and you'll regret it." Fiona laughed bitterly, but I saw fear flash in her eyes. She turned and stormed out, her friends following. The cafeteria erupted in murmurs again. I stared at my plate, fighting back tears. "You didn't have to do that. Now everyone will hate me more." Ralph sat back down. His voice was surprisingly gentle. "I'm tired of people like her thinking they can step on others. You're not just a scholarship student, Casey. You're the smartest person in our class." My heart skipped. For the first time in my life, someone saw me. Not my old uniform, not my thick glasses, not my braces, but me. Sheila kicked my foot lightly under the table and gave me a knowing smile. As we left the cafeteria, Ralph walked beside me again. Before we reached the building, he stopped. "Casey." I looked up. "I need help with math. I'm failing badly. Would you tutor me?" My eyes widened. "Me? Tutor you?" He nodded. "Every Saturday. At my house. I'll pick you up." I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Ralph gave me that small smile again, the one that made my knees weak. "Think about it." Then he walked away, leaving me standing there with my heart racing and my mind spinning. Sheila squealed beside me. "Bess! He asked you to tutor him. This is huge." I touched the spot on my hand where his fingers had brushed mine earlier. Something told me my life was about to change forever, and I wasn't sure if I was ready. The week after that lunch felt like a fever dream. Every time I walked through the hallway, people stared. Some whispered, others gave me dirty looks. Fiona didn't approach me again, but her glare followed me everywhere like a shadow. I kept my head down, clutching my books tighter than usual, terrified that one wrong move would cost me my scholarship. Ralph, on the other hand, acted like nothing had changed. He sat next to me in class every day. Sometimes he would lean over and ask a quiet question about the lesson. Other times, he just watched me solve problems with that small, unreadable smile. Each time our eyes met, my heart did a strange flip, and I had to look away before my face turned completely red. On Friday afternoon, as I was packing my bag, he stopped by my desk. Tomorrow, Saturday, I'll pick you up at 10 a.m., text me your address. He didn't ask. He stated it like it was already decided. I swallowed hard. Ralph, are you sure? I mean, I'm not a professional tutor. I'm sure. His voice was low, firm. See you tomorrow, Casey. Then he walked away, leaving me frozen with my heart hammering against my ribs. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying his words, his smile, the way he defended me in the cafeteria. Part of me was terrified. The other part, the stupid, hopeful part, couldn't stop feeling a warm flutter in my chest. The next morning, I stood outside my small boarding house, wearing my usual plain clothes and thick glasses, hair tied up neatly. At exactly 10 a.m., a sleek black luxury car stopped in front of me. Ralph stepped out. He looked effortlessly handsome in a simple white shirt and dark jeans. When his eyes landed on me, something in his expression softened. "Ready?" he asked. I nodded, too nervous to speak properly. The drive to his house was quiet at first. His mansion was enormous. High gates, beautiful gardens, and a main house that looked like it belonged in a magazine. I felt smaller than ever. Inside, his study was huge, lined with bookshelves and a large wooden desk. Ralph pulled out a chair for me. Let's start with math. I'm really bad at problem solving. For the next 2 hours, I explained concepts step by step. Surprisingly, Ralph listened carefully. He asked questions, took notes, and when he finally solved a difficult equation correctly, his face lit up with a genuine smile. "You're a good teacher," he said softly. My cheeks burned. "You're a fast learner when you actually try." He chuckled, a low, warm sound that made my stomach flip. We took a short break. Ralph brought cold drinks and sat across from me. "Why do you work so hard?" he asked suddenly. "Most scholarship students are scared all the time, but you fight back." I looked down at my hands. Because if I fail, I lose everything. My family sacrificed a lot for me to study here. I can't let them down. Ralph was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You're stronger than you look, Casey." His words wrapped around my heart like a warm blanket. Before I could reply, he reached out and gently tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers brushed my cheek for a split second. Time stopped. My breath caught. My face felt like it was on fire. Ralph seemed to realize what he did. He pulled his hand back quickly, but his eyes stayed on mine. "Sorry," he murmured, voice slightly husky. "You just looked uncomfortable with your hair like that." I couldn't speak. My heart was beating so loudly I was sure he could hear it. The rest of the session passed in a blur of equations and stolen glances. When it was time to go home, Ralph insisted on driving me back. As the car stopped in front of my boarding house, he turned to me. "Same time next Saturday?" I nodded shyly. "Okay." Before I could open the door, he said quietly, "You're not like anyone else here, Casey. Don't let them make you feel small." Those words stayed with me long after I stepped inside my room. I stood in front of the small mirror, took off my thick glasses, and let my long hair down. For the first time, I wondered what I would look like without the nerd armor I had worn for so long. And deep down, a tiny, dangerous thought appeared. What if Ralph saw the real me? Chapter 5. The First Crack in My Armor. The days after my first tutoring session with Ralph felt both wonderful and terrifying. In class, he still sat next to me. He no longer asked for help only during quizzes. Sometimes he would slide his notebook toward me and quietly point at a problem. Every small interaction made my heart race. I started noticing little things, the way his cologne smelled when he leaned closer, how his deep voice softened when he spoke to me, and the rare smiles he gave only when no one else was looking. But outside our small bubble, the world was getting darker. Fiona had stopped direct attacks, but her silence was worse. She watched me like a predator, whispering to her friends and spreading rumors. I overheard things in the restroom. She's using black magic from the province. Ralph only pities her. A scholarship rat trying to climb the social ladder. Sheila stayed by my side like a fierce bodyguard, but even she looked worried. "Bess, be careful," she warned me one afternoon. "Fiona is planning something. I can feel it. That girl doesn't lose gracefully." I tried to brush it off, but deep down, fear gnawed at me. One wrong move and my scholarship could be gone. Saturday came again. This time, when Ralph's car stopped in front of my boarding house, I felt different. I had spent extra time brushing my long hair until it shone, though I still tied it up neatly and kept my thick glasses on. I told myself it was just because I wanted to look presentable as a tutor, but I knew the truth. I wanted him to see me differently. When I got into the car, Ralph glanced at me longer than usual. "You look nice today," he said quietly. My face instantly heated up. "Thank you." The tutoring session went well. Ralph was improving fast. After we finished a difficult set of problems, he leaned back in his chair and looked at me with genuine admiration. "You make everything seem so easy, Casey. I've never had a teacher like you." I smiled shyly, pushing my glasses up my nose. "You're the one working hard. I just show you the way." He stared at me for a long moment, then suddenly stood up. "Come with me." Before I could protest, he took my hand and gently pulled me out of the study. His touch sent warmth spreading up my arm. We walked through the beautiful garden behind his mansion until we reached a quiet pavilion overlooking a small pond. Ralph let go of my hand, but stayed close. "Why do you hide?" he asked softly. I blinked. "What do you mean?" "Your hair, your smile, the way you always look down like you're afraid to be seen." He stepped closer. "You're beautiful, Casey, but you act like you don't deserve to be noticed." My breath caught in my throat. No one had ever said something like that to me. I'm just a scholarship student," I whispered, voice trembling. "People like Fiona remind me every day that I don't belong here. If I stand out too much, they'll destroy me." Ralph's eyes darkened with something I couldn't quite read: anger, protectiveness, maybe even pain. "Then let them try," he said firmly. "I won't let them touch you." The air between us felt charged. My heart was beating so loudly I was sure he could hear it. Ralph lifted his hand slowly and, with surprising gentleness, pulled the hair tie from my ponytail. My long, dark hair cascaded down my shoulders. He looked at me for a long time, his gaze intense. "See?" he murmured. "Much better." I couldn't move. My cheeks burned. I felt exposed, vulnerable, and strangely alive. "Ralph?" My voice was barely audible. He took one step closer. For a second, I thought he might kiss me. My eyes fluttered shut instinctively. But then he stopped. "I'm sorry?" he said, voice rough. "I shouldn't have done that." He stepped back, running a hand through his own hair, looking conflicted. "I'll drive you home." The ride back was quiet, but the silence wasn't uncomfortable. When we arrived at my boarding house, Ralph turned to me before I could get out. "Next Saturday, can you come without tying your hair up?" I bit my lip, heart racing wildly. "Okay." As I watched his car disappear down the street, I touched my now loose hair and smiled like an idiot. That night, I stood in front of the mirror again. I took off my thick glasses and stared at my reflection. For the first time, I didn't see just the nerdy scholarship girl. I saw someone Ralph Monteverde had looked at with real desire in his eyes, but deep down, a small voice whispered, "This happiness won't last." Fiona was too quiet, and quiet monsters were always the most dangerous. The following Monday, I walked into school with my hair still loose. It was a small change, just no ponytail, no tight bun, but it felt enormous. My long dark hair fell softly over my shoulders, framing my face. I kept my thick glasses on and wore the same old uniform, but I felt different. Lighter. Braver. Sheila's jaw dropped the moment she saw me. "Casey Rivera, what did you do?" She grabbed my arms and spun me around. "Your hair looks amazing. You look pretty." I blushed hard. "It's nothing. Ralph just suggested it." Sheila squealed so loudly that several students turned to stare. "Ralph suggested it? Oh my God, Bess! You two are so obvious!" "Shh!" I covered her mouth quickly, panic rising. Someone might hear. But it was too late. Whispers started spreading again. By lunchtime, the entire school seemed to know I had changed. Some girls gave me curious looks. Others, mostly Fiona's circle, shot me hateful glares. Fiona herself didn't approach me. She just watched from afar with a cold, calculating smile that made my stomach twist. In class, Ralph noticed immediately. When I sat down, he turned toward me, eyes widening slightly. For a moment, he didn't say anything. He just looked. "You listened," he finally said, voice low and warm. I nodded, too shy to meet his gaze. "It feels better this way." "You look beautiful." The words were simple, but they hit me like a wave. My face burned so intensely I was sure even my ears were red. I mumbled a quiet "thank you" and buried my face in my notebook. Ralph chuckled softly beside me, that rare, genuine sound I was starting to crave. The week passed in a blur of secret glances and small conversations. Every Saturday, tutoring session became something I looked forward to more than anything. We finished math problems faster now, and afterward, we would talk. Really talk. He told me about the pressure of being the only heir to the Monteverde Empire. How his father expected perfection, but he had always rebelled. How lonely it felt to have everything, yet feel like he had nothing. I told him about my small province, my parents who worked in the fields, and how I studied by candlelight when the electricity went out. I told him how scared I was of failing and going back home empty-handed. Every time we talked, the wall between us cracked a little more. One Saturday, after a particularly good session, Ralph surprised me. "I want to buy you something," he said as we finished. I shook my head immediately. "No, Ralph, you don't have to." "Please," he interrupted gently. "Let me do this." He took me to the mall his family owned. The moment we walked in, people stared. Some recognized him and bowed slightly. Others looked at me with confusion and judgment. Ralph ignored them all. He led me straight to a high-end boutique and told the saleslady, "Show us the most beautiful dresses you have." I tried to protest, but he was determined. When I stepped out of the fitting room in a simple but elegant silver dress that shimmered softly, Ralph's eyes darkened. He stared at me for a long time. "Casey," his voice was hoarse, "you have no idea how stunning you are." I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the girl staring back. The dress hugged my figure perfectly. My long hair fell in soft waves. Even with my braces and glasses, I looked different, prettier. Ralph stepped closer, standing behind me in the mirror. Our eyes met in the reflection. "I'm buying this," he said firmly. "And the shoes, too." "Ralph, it's too much." He gently turned me around to face him. "Let me spoil you. Just this once." His fingers brushed my cheek as he tucked my hair behind my ear again. The touch was so tender it made my knees weak. That night, back in my small room, I hung the beautiful dress in my closet and stared at it for a long time. I was changing, and it wasn't just the clothes. It was because of him. But happiness never lasted long in my life. On Monday, the storm finally broke. During lunch, Fiona stood up in the middle of the cafeteria with a sweet, poisonous smile. "Everyone," she announced loudly, "I think we should be careful. Some people here are using dirty tricks to get what they want. Provincial witchcraft, maybe? How else can a nobody like Casey Rivera make Ralph Monteverde notice her?" Laughter and gasps filled the room. My blood ran cold. Fiona looked straight at me, eyes gleaming with malice. "Careful, nerd. Black magic always comes with a price." The entire cafeteria turned to look at me. I wanted the ground to swallow me whole. But then Ralph stood up beside me, his presence commanding silence. He looked at Fiona with ice-cold eyes and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "Say one more word about her, Fiona, and I'll make sure you regret every single breath you take in this school." The room went dead silent. Ralph turned to me, his voice softening instantly. "Come on, Casey. Let's go somewhere else." He took my hand right there in front of everyone and led me out of the cafeteria. My heart was racing, from fear, from embarrassment, and from the warmth of his hand holding mine so protectively. But as we walked away, I caught one last glimpse of Fiona's face. She wasn't angry anymore. She was smiling, a dangerous, terrifying smile, and that smile told me this was only the beginning. The days after Fiona's public attack in the cafeteria were tense. Ralph became more protective. He walked me to every class, sat with me during lunch, and even waited outside the library when I stayed late to study. His presence scared away most of the whispers, but it also made Fiona's hatred grow stronger. I could feel her eyes burning into my back whenever she passed by. One Thursday afternoon, as I was packing my bag after the last period, Ralph suddenly appeared at my desk. "My birthday's this weekend," he said without preamble. I looked up, surprised. "Oh, happy birthday in advance." He leaned against the desk, arms crossed, looking unusually nervous for someone like him. "I want you to come." My heart skipped. "To your birthday party?" He nodded. "It's at our mansion. There will be a lot of people, family, friends, business partners, students from school, but I want you there." I bit my lip, anxiety creeping in. "Ralph, I don't think I belong at a party like that. Everyone will be rich and elegant. I'll just embarrass you." His eyes softened. He reached out and gently lifted my chin, so I had to look at him. "You could never embarrass me, Casey. I want you there, please." The way he said please, soft, almost vulnerable, made it impossible to refuse. "Okay," I whispered. I'll come. A bright smile broke across his face, the kind that made my stomach do flips. Good. I'll pick you up at 6 p.m. on Saturday. That night, panic set in. I had nothing suitable to wear. The silver dress Ralph bought me was beautiful, but it felt too much for me. Too expensive, too noticeable. I stared at it hanging in my tiny closet and felt completely out of place. Sheila came over the next day to help. Bess, you have to wear that dress, she insisted after I showed it to her. Ralph bought it for you. He wants to see you in it. I'm scared, I admitted, voice small. What if I look ridiculous? What if everyone laughs at me? Sheila hugged me tightly. Then Ralph will protect you, and I'll be there too. You're not alone anymore. On Saturday evening, Sheila helped me get ready at my boarding house. She did light makeup on me, just enough to enhance my features without looking overdone. When I finally put on the silver dress, let my hair fall naturally down my back, and wore the matching heels Ralph had bought, I barely recognized myself in the mirror. I still had my braces and glasses, but the girl staring back looked elegant, almost like she belonged. When Ralph's car arrived, he stepped out and froze the moment he saw me. His eyes widened. He scanned me from head to toe, completely speechless for several seconds. Casey, his voice came out rough. You look incredible. I blushed deeply, fiddling with the hem of my dress. Is it too much? He shook his head, stepping closer. It's perfect. You're perfect. He offered his arm like a true gentleman. Shall we? The drive to the mansion was quiet, but the air between us felt electric. When we arrived, the entire estate was lit up beautifully. Luxury cars lined the driveway. Elegant guests in designer clothes filled the grand ballroom. The moment we walked in, all eyes turned to us, especially to me. Whispers erupted immediately. Is that the scholarship girl? She's with Ralph Monteverde? Look at her dress. Where did she get that? Fiona was standing near the entrance with her group. When she saw me on Ralph's arm, her face twisted with pure rage and disbelief. She looked stunning in a red gown, but her beauty was poisoned by jealousy. Ralph ignored everyone. He kept his hand on the small of my back, guiding me through the crowd with quiet confidence. His parents approached us. His mother, a graceful woman, looked at me with kind curiosity. So this is the famous Casey Rivera my son has been talking about, she said warmly. It's nice to finally meet you. I bowed politely, heart racing. It's an honor, ma'am. Ralph's father was more reserved, studying me carefully, but he didn't say anything negative. Later, when the lights dimmed and the music played softly, Ralph pulled me onto the dance floor. I don't know how to dance, I whispered nervously. Just follow me, he murmured, placing one hand on my waist and holding my other hand gently. As we swayed slowly to the music, the world around us seemed to fade. It was just him and me. You have no idea what you're doing to me, Casey, he said softly, his breath brushing my ear. Every time I see you, I forget everything else. My heart swelled. I looked up into his eyes, feeling braver than ever. Ralph, I'm scared. Fiona hates me so much. Your world is so different from mine. He pulled me a little closer. Then let me bring you into my world. I don't care what anyone thinks. I only care about you. For a moment, everything felt perfect, until I caught sight of Fiona watching us from the edge of the dance floor. Her eyes were dark with fury, and something much more dangerous. She raised her glass toward me in a mock toast, lips curving into that terrifying smile again. A chill ran down my spine. This party wasn't just a celebration. It was the beginning of war, and Fiona was ready to destroy everything. The music swirled around us as Ralph held me close on the dance floor. For a few precious minutes, I allowed myself to believe that everything was going to be okay. His hand was warm on my waist. His eyes never left mine, and the way he looked at me made me feel like the only girl in the room. But perfect moments never last long in my life. As the song ended, Ralph gently led me off the dance floor toward a quieter corner of the ballroom. Before we could reach it, Fiona appeared like a ghost in red, blocking our path with a bright, fake smile. Ralph, there you are, she said sweetly, completely ignoring me. Your father is looking for you. He wants to introduce you to some important business partners. Ralph's jaw tightened. I'm busy right now. Fiona laughed lightly, but her eyes were ice cold when they flicked toward me. Oh, come on. You can't spend the whole night babysitting your little charity project. The words stung like a slap. I felt Ralph's hand tense on my back. Fiona, that's enough. She stepped closer to him, lowering her voice so only we could hear. You're really going to choose this provincial nobody over me? Over everyone who actually belongs here? She's using you, Ralph. One day you'll wake up and realize how pathetic she is. My chest tightened. I wanted to disappear into the floor. Ralph's voice turned dangerously low. If you say one more word about Casey, I will personally make sure you and your family are no longer welcome in any Monteverde event. Ever. Fiona's smile faltered for a split second, but she quickly recovered, tilting her head with fake innocence. We'll see about that. She gave me one last poisonous look before gliding away into the crowd. Ralph turned to me immediately, his expression softening with concern. Are you okay? I forced a small smile even though my hands were shaking. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. But I wasn't fine. The rest of the evening passed in a haze. Ralph stayed by my side the whole time, introducing me to a few people and shielding me from the worst of the stares and whispers. His mother even pulled me aside for a short, kind conversation that made me feel a little less like an outsider. Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was coming. Near the end of the party, when most guests were saying goodbye, Ralph had to step away briefly to speak with his father. I waited near the grand staircase, holding a glass of juice. That was when Fiona struck. She appeared suddenly with two of her closest friends, surrounding me like wolves. Well, well, Fiona purred, her voice dripping with venom. Look at you, all dressed up like you belong here. Did Ralph buy that dress for you? How cute. Playing dress up with the heir. I tried to stay calm. Fiona, I don't want any trouble tonight. She laughed softly. Trouble? Oh, sweetheart, trouble is just beginning for you. One of her friends stepped closer and accidentally bumped into me, causing my glass of juice to spill all over the front of my beautiful silver dress. I gasped as the cold liquid soaked through the fabric. Oops, the girl said with mock innocence. So clumsy. Fiona smiled sweetly. What a shame, such a pretty dress ruined on such a pathetic girl. Tears burned in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I turned to walk away, but Fiona grabbed my wrist hard, her nails digging into my skin. Listen to me, you little witch, she hissed quietly so no one else could hear. Stay away from Ralph. He is mine. If you don't disappear from his life, I will destroy you completely. Your scholarship, your reputation, your future, everything. Do you understand? She let go of my wrist with a shove. I stumbled back, heart pounding with fear and humiliation. Before I could respond, a strong arm wrapped around my waist from behind, steadying me. Ralph, his voice was like ice. What the hell is going on here? Fiona instantly switched to her innocent act. Nothing, Ralph. Just a little accident with the juice. Ralph looked down at the stain on my dress, then at my face. He saw the tears I was fighting to hold back. His expression turned thunderous. Get out, he said coldly to Fiona and her friends. All of you, you are no longer welcome at this party, or any Monteverde event. Fiona's face paled. Ralph, you can't be serious. I've never been more serious, he cut her off. Touch Casey again, and I will make sure your family loses every single contract they have with mine. The three girls backed away, fear flashing in their eyes. Ralph turned to me, his anger melting into worry. He gently took my hand. Come with me. He led me upstairs to a private room and closed the door behind us. Without a word, he grabbed a clean towel and carefully dabbed at the juice stain on my dress. I'm so sorry, Casey, he whispered. I should have stayed with you. I shook my head, tears finally slipping down my cheeks. It's not your fault. Fiona, she hates me so much. She said she'll destroy me if I don't stay away from you. Ralph stopped dabbing and cupped my face with both hands, forcing me to look at him. Listen to me, he said fiercely. She can't touch you. I won't let her. You are important to me, Casey. More important than you know. My heart ached with both fear and overwhelming warmth. He wiped my tears away with his thumbs, his touch incredibly gentle. Then slowly, he leaned in. His lips brushed softly against my forehead. I've got you, he murmured against my skin. I promise. In that quiet room, with his arms around me and the party noise far away, I felt safe for the first time in a long while. But deep in my heart, I knew Fiona's threat wasn't empty. The real storm was still coming. The days after Ralph's birthday party passed in a strange mix of sweetness and dread. Ralph became even more attentive. He walked me to every class, ate lunch with me and Sheila every day, and made sure I was never alone in the hallways. His protectiveness made my heart flutter, but it also made the stares and whispers grow louder. Some students now looked at me with envy, others with open resentment. Fiona had gone completely silent. She no longer glared at me in the corridors. She didn't make sarcastic comments or spill drinks on me. She simply smiled whenever our eyes met, a cold, knowing smile that sent chills down my spine. That silence terrified me more than her insults ever did. One Friday afternoon, after our last class, Ralph caught my hand as I was packing my bag. "Tomorrow is Saturday," he said softly. "Tutoring session at my house?" I nodded, smiling shyly. "I'll be ready." He leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss to my forehead right there in the classroom. My face burned as a few students gasped. "I'll pick you up at 10, he whispered before walking away. That night, I couldn't sleep well. Fiona's threat kept echoing in my head. "If you don't disappear from his life, I will destroy you completely." The next morning, I put on a simple white blouse and jeans, left my hair down the way Ralph liked it, and waited outside my boarding house. But 10 a.m. came and went. Then 10:30. Ralph never showed up. I tried calling him. No answer. I sent messages. They went unread. By 11 a.m., worry had turned into panic. Ralph was never late. Something was wrong. Sheila arrived at my boarding house after I called her in tears. "Bess, calm down," she said, hugging me. "Maybe his phone died or he got stuck in traffic." But deep down, we both knew that wasn't like Ralph. At 1 p.m., my phone finally rang. It was an unknown number. I answered with trembling hands. "Hello?" A distorted, mechanical voice spoke on the other end. "Casey Rivera. If you want to see Ralph alive, come to the old abandoned warehouse behind the university at 8 p.m. tonight. Come alone. Tell no one, especially not his parents or the police. If you disobey, Ralph dies." The line went dead. I dropped my phone, legs giving out beneath me. Sheila caught me before I hit the floor. "Casey, what happened?" Tears streamed down my face as I told her everything. She wanted to call the police immediately, but I stopped her. "They said they'll kill him if I tell anyone," I sobbed. "I can't risk it, Sheila. I have to go." "You're not going alone," Sheila argued fiercely. "I'm coming with you. We'll stay hidden. I won't let you face this by yourself." I didn't have the strength to argue. At 7:30 p.m., we took a taxi to the old abandoned warehouse area. The place was dark, eerie, and far from the bustling city. My heart pounded violently as we approached. Sheila hid behind some old containers while I walked forward alone, my hands shaking. "Fiona!" I called out, voice trembling but loud. "I'm here! Let Ralph go!" A slow clap echoed from the shadows. Fiona stepped out into the dim light, flanked by two tall men I didn't recognize. She looked stunning even in the darkness, wearing all black. "Well, well," she said with a sickening smile. "The little nerd actually came. How touching." "Where is Ralph?" I demanded, trying to sound brave. Fiona laughed. "He's safe for now, tied up nicely in the back. My men made sure he couldn't play hero." She stepped closer, her eyes filled with pure hatred. "You really thought you could steal him from me? A pathetic scholarship girl with braces and thick glasses? I gave you a chance to walk away. Now you'll pay the price." One of the men grabbed my arm roughly. "Let her go." Sheila suddenly shouted, running out from her hiding spot. Fiona's eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed with rage. "You brought your rich little friend? How stupid." Before I could react, the second man pulled out a gun and pointed it straight at Sheila. "No," I screamed. Fiona smiled coldly. "Now listen carefully, Casey. You have two choices. First choice, you disappear from Ralph's life forever, transfer to another school, never contact him again. Second choice..." She nodded toward the man holding the gun. "Your best friend dies right here, and then Ralph will watch you die next." Tears poured down my face. My whole body shook with terror. "Please, don't hurt them," I begged. "I'll do anything." Fiona tilted her head. "Good girl. Then say it. Say you'll leave Ralph and never come back." I closed my eyes, heart breaking into 1,000 pieces. But before I could speak, a loud crash echoed from the back of the warehouse. Ralph's voice roared through the darkness, filled with fury. "Get your filthy hands off her!" He had somehow broken free. Chaos erupted. Ralph charged forward like a storm, slamming into the man holding me. Fists flew. The gun clattered to the ground. Sheila screamed as the other man tried to grab her. In the middle of the fight, Fiona lunged toward the fallen gun. I didn't think. I threw myself at her, tackling her to the ground just as her fingers closed around the weapon. We struggled desperately on the cold concrete floor. "You ruined everything!" Fiona screamed, trying to point the gun at me. But I was fighting for the boy I loved, for my future, for my life. With all my strength, I slammed her hand against the floor until the gun slipped from her grip. Ralph appeared above us, breathing heavily, blood trickling from a cut on his lip. He kicked the gun far away and pulled me up into his arms. "It's over, Fiona," he said coldly. "You're finished." Sirens wailed in the distance. Sheila had managed to call the police when the fight started. Fiona lay on the ground, defeated, tears of rage streaming down her face. As the police arrived and handcuffed her and her accomplices, Ralph held me tightly against his chest. "You're safe now," he whispered into my hair, his voice shaking with emotion. "I've got you. I'll always have you." I buried my face in his shirt, sobbing with relief and fear. But even as the nightmare seemed to end, a small voice in my heart whispered, this wasn't just Fiona's doing. Someone more powerful might still be watching. The police lights flashed red and blue across the abandoned warehouse as officers swarmed the area. Fiona and her two accomplices were dragged away in handcuffs. She screamed and cursed my name the entire time, her perfect face twisted with rage and disbelief. I stood frozen in Ralph's arms, my body still shaking from the adrenaline and fear. The silver dress I had worn so happily at his birthday party was now dirty and torn. My hair was a mess, and my glasses sat crooked on my nose. But I was alive. We were all alive. Ralph held me tighter, one hand gently stroking my hair. "It's over, Casey. She can't hurt you anymore." Sheila rushed over, tears streaming down her face as she hugged both of us. "I was so scared. I thought we were going to die." Ralph's voice was hoarse but steady. "Thank you for coming with her, Sheila. You saved us tonight." Paramedics checked us for injuries. Ralph had a cut on his lip and some bruises from breaking free, but nothing serious. I had a few scratches and a badly bruised wrist where Fiona's man had grabbed me. As the police took our statements, Ralph never let go of my hand. Later that night, after hours at the police station, Ralph's parents arrived. His mother pulled me into a warm embrace the moment she saw me. "My poor girl," she whispered. "I'm so sorry you had to go through this." His father looked at me with a new respect in his eyes. "You showed incredible courage tonight, Casey. Not many people would have risked their life the way you did." Ralph stood protectively beside me the whole time. The next few days were a blur. Fiona and her accomplices were formally charged with kidnapping, assault, and attempted murder. The news spread like wildfire across the school and the entire city. The once powerful Reyes family was suddenly facing serious legal consequences and public humiliation. At school on Monday, everything felt different. The whispers had changed. No longer mocking, now they were filled with shock and quiet admiration. Casey actually fought Fiona. She saved Ralph. That nerd girl is braver than all of us. Ralph walked beside me proudly, his hand occasionally brushing mine. During lunch, he pulled me aside to a quiet spot under the trees. "I almost lost you," he said, voice thick with emotion. He cupped my face gently. "When I was tied up in that warehouse, all I could think about was you. I regretted every second I didn't tell you how I really feel." My heart pounded. "Ralph," he took a deep breath, his eyes never leaving mine. "I love you, Casey Rivera, not because you're smart or because you changed. I love you because you're kind, brave, and real. You make me want to be a better man. I don't care about money, status, or what anyone thinks. I just want you." Tears filled my eyes. After all the pain, fear, and self-doubt, his words felt like healing. "I love you too," I whispered, my voice breaking. "I've loved you since the day you caught me when I fell." Ralph smiled, that beautiful, genuine smile that always made my world brighter. He leaned down and kissed me softly under the trees, his lips warm and tender. It was our first real kiss. Sweet, gentle, full of promise. When we pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine. "No more hiding," he said. "No more being afraid. From now on, we face everything together." The rest of the school year passed like a beautiful dream. Fiona was expelled and faced court. The bullying stopped completely. Ralph continued to improve in his studies, and I remained at the top of our class. On graduation day, I stood on stage as valedictorian, delivering my speech with Ralph watching me proudly from the front row. My parents were there too, crying tears of joy. After the ceremony, Ralph pulled me aside once again. He got down on one knee right there on the school grounds, in front of our friends and family. From his pocket, he took out a simple but elegant diamond ring. "Casey Rivera," he said, voice steady but eyes full of love. "You came into my life as the girl everyone overlooked, but you became the one who changed everything. Will you marry me?" I covered my mouth, tears flowing freely. "Yes," I sobbed happily. 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring onto my finger and stood up, pulling me into his arms as everyone around us cheered. Epilogue. 6 months later. I stood in front of the mirror in a beautiful white wedding gown, my hair flowing freely down my back. The thick glasses were gone, replaced by contact lenses. My braces had come off months ago, revealing a confident smile. But the biggest change wasn't on the outside. It was inside me. Ralph appeared behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "My beautiful wife-to-be," he whispered, kissing my shoulder. I turned in his arms and smiled up at him. "From the nerd who got pushed down in the hallway to this." He chuckled softly, and I wouldn't change a single thing about our story. As we walked hand in hand toward the altar where our families and friends waited, I realized something beautiful. Sometimes the greatest love stories begin with a fall. And sometimes the person who catches you is the one you were meant to spend forever with. The end. And that's the end of Casey and Ralph's story. Thank you so much for listening to Audio Romance AR. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our next romance story. See you in the next episode. This is Audio Romance AR, signing off.